Hey there, welcome back to Embodied Astrology. My name is Renee, if we haven't met before. It is Scorpio season, and oh my gosh, this season is bringing so much water. It's really quite a deluge, and I think a lot of folks are going to have a lot going on this season, so I really hope that these readings are supportive for you and whatever you have going on. Remember that horoscopes are general readings, so they may not resonate fully for everyone or with everything. Make sure to take what works and leave the rest, and also make sure to listen to readings differently for your different placements. My readings are for your sun, moon, and rising signs, and they are going to be most accurate for rising signs. But I will say that if you have a late degree rising, like 20 to 30 degrees of the zodiac sign your ascendant is in, you might also want to listen to the reading for the sign that follows yours. Just give it a try, see if it speaks to you. Okay, so some of you know that I took a break over the summer and fall, which meant that I pre-recorded Gemini through Libra season. That was the last 4 months of readings back in June. And now my break is over and I'm back. And I will tell you that taking a break from my usual rhythms and shaking up the schedules in my life was an excellent choice. It allowed me space and perspective and rest, and I feel refreshed and excited to read for you again. And this is a great thing because I'm also about to start working on one of my favorite annual projects, which is my year ahead readings. I've been doing year ahead readings now for 6 years, and every time it is such a powerful experience for me to map out the astrology of the upcoming 12 months, meditate with that map for each of the signs, and work with readings that incorporate embodiment, meditation, and visualization with all kinds of other things like forecasting and practical advice for making the most of the opportunities and working skillfully with the challenges. So if you love my readings, this is your chance to pre-order your 2026 year ahead at a discount for the entirety of Scorpio season. That's October 22nd till November 21st. When you purchase 2 annual readings, you can get a 3rd reading free. And this is great news if you have different sun, moon, and rising signs, and also great news if you have astro lovers in your life and you're looking for a cute gift to share. This sale won't last, and as of Sagittarius season, the readings will go back to their normal price, so make sure to take advantage now and click the link in the show notes to pre-order 2026 readings for all your signs. All right. So I'm going to take a quick break for ads. Thank you for your patience. Ads help me pay the bills and keep me offering free content like these readings. So you know how to fast forward. And if you want to support my work and help me do more of what I do, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, and consider leaving a tip. And definitely stick around. Your Scorpio season reading is coming up next. Hello Taurus, welcome to Scorpio season. You probably know Scorpio is your opposite sign, so when things are happening with Scorpio, things are definitely also happening with Taurus. And the nature of opposites in the symbolic language of astrology gives your opposite sign the significance of any relationship that reflects you back to yourself. In general, this is just relationships. This is how it is to be alive in the world. You are always being reflected back to yourself in the ways that you experience others relating and interacting with you, in the ways that you experience your own reactions and responses to others, and the way that they relate and interact with you. Basically, the entire external objective world might be considered as somewhat of a reflective surface for your energy. And Taurus, as we tune in with Scorpio season, it feels like there is a lot that you're contemplating in the realms of your relationships. Now, all of the water signs speak to Taurian relationships. And in Scorpio season, we not only have the sun in Scorpio, we also have the ruler of Scorpio, Mars, in its home sign, at least for the first half or so of Scorpio season. We have Mercury in Scorpio. Mercury is beginning a retrograde process. As we move into Scorpio season, the retrograde shadow is starting to be cast. This is the period of time when Mercury is traveling direct over the area it will retrograde back to. Now within Scorpio season, Mercury will make it into Sagittarius, but it's going to come back into Scorpio, into your opposite sign, and it's retrograde. And then over the course of Scorpio season, Venus will also enter this sign. Now, along with everything that's happening in Scorpio, we have Jupiter stationing retrograde in Cancer this season. We also have Saturn and Neptune both occupying Pisces and preparing to station direct in Sagittarius season, but slowing down and holding their direct station points, bringing a lot of intensity into the water element in general. So the first thing that I want to say, Taurus, is that your relationships right now are realms that are really calling forth a lot of your focus and attention and emotional process and labor. Because we are moving into a Mercury retrograde and this season, Scorpio season, is just entirely blanketed by retrograde influences, I'm going to say that this is also a period of time when you are deeply inside the RE prefixing of it all. So the returning to things that maybe got put down a while ago and need your attention again. Remaining with things that are not finished yet, not ready to move forward, and need you to be in some kind of process with. Resting. Taking your time, relaxing. There is an element to a retrograde process that often is asking us to let go of ways that we might be efforting and striving unnecessarily. And so relaxing or releasing or somehow, giving back to the universal current and flow, that which you don't need to be holding on to or holding on to too tightly, is definitely part of the retrograde theme. Now, there are also themes of repair that might be coming up, or reconstruction or revision or renegotiation, especially with this Mercury retrograde happening in your opposite sign and in a place in your solar chart that definitely signifies contracts, agreements, and expectations of the most important people in our lives, as well as the ways that we show up for those important one-on-one dynamics and relationships. So this is a period of time, Taurus, that is asking you to slow down, to be with, and to otherwise engage and invest yourself in the kinds of internal watery processes. These are emotional processes of relating, allowing yourself to dissolve a little bit, be permeated, receptive, also tuning in with the ways that you are affected by other people and how you are affecting them in turn. This is what really needs your attention over the course of this season. So as I mentioned, we move into Scorpio season while Mercury is beginning to cast its shadow. This is just the day after the Libra new moon, which happens on the 21st of October. And so right away, there is this feeling of needing to pay attention to contracts, agreements, and expectations that you have with others and that others have with you. And I think that a lot of you are really at a point in your lives where you are needing some updates to your contracts and to your agreements. Now, this could be explicit and literal when it comes to especially work agreements or agreements that are affecting somehow the everyday of your life. This could include responsibilities, who needs to take care of what, and what needs to happen in the realms of your collaborations and intimacies. There are also definitely some relationships that you might be looking at as a whole and trying to discern and decipher how you want to move forward with these particular people and in these particular contexts. Now, again, we are in for a retrograde ride, so you don't need to rush. And if you feel yourself starting off Scorpio season with a lot of feeling, and not so much like mental logic or knowing of what needs to happen, but just kind of a feeling of there is a lot here and there's a lot happening, that would make perfect sense to me. Now, as I also mentioned, all of the water trines are tenanted during Scorpio season, and they're all occupied in ways that are bringing a lot of retrograde motion and stationing motion, whether planets are stationing direct or retrograde. There is a feeling in all of the water signs of something being adjusted and negotiated. And this water trine is strong throughout the entirety of the season. And to me, this feels that for Taurus especially, there are pretty deep questions right now around your energy and the energy and influence that you're perceiving from and with others. And also questions around what are your deepest intentions, your values, your growth paths, and the practicalities and realities of what it is that you want to be building with these people and in the contexts and conditions that you are relating with them. And the kind of intensity of the water, because it's moving through your social spaces, Taurus, to me, is kind of bringing the feeling of a need for increased alone time, or time where you are really focusing with yourself and allowing whatever is happening in your relational realms to be reflected by your internal subjective awareness. And this feels like letting things settle and feeling how you are feeling how you're affected, and giving yourself plenty of space and time for that. And I would definitely encourage you to turn the volume up on the space and time that you're giving to yourself as we get towards the Taurus full moon, which is on November 5th. Now, the day after the full moon, the outer planet Uranus also comes back into your sign. Now, if you've been tuning in with me for the last several months, or if you tune in with astrology in general, you're probably aware that since 2018, Uranus has been in the sign of tropical Taurus. But beginning this year in 2025, Uranus started to make its way out of Taurus and into the following sign, Gemini. Now, the outer planets are slow. They have really long orbits around the sun, Uranus being the quickest of all of the outer planets with an 84-year orbit around the sun. So if you are younger than, let's say, your late 70s, then this last 7 years or so has been the very first time in your life that Uranus has been in your sign. And you might even think back to 2018 and what has been happening for you since then. I know that's a big chunk of time, but in these last 7 years or so, Uranus's presence in your sign has been bringing the need for a real kind of revolution and fairly radical upheaval of your sense of self and personality. Now, this may have included all kinds of external events that you had no control over, that may have really put you into some kind of space where you had to change. Your life path may be changed. How you present yourself and feel yourself in the world has probably changed. Elements of your body and your appearance and how you identify within your kind of corporeal embodied existence have also really been being updated over these last 7 years. And this is starting to translate for you into a new set of values and expectations. And it's also translating for you into a new set of potential values and valuable skills or sense of personal possession that you have to offer to the world. This could have everything to do with your perspective and the changes that you've been going through and the ways that you have been opening up and waking up over these last 7 years. I think that a lot of you are really able to feel yourself and who you are and what you bring in new and, I think, pretty exciting ways. But over the next couple of months, a little more than a couple, from now until next April, Uranus will be back in Taurus and finishing up its transit there. So Uranus, as I mentioned, will be coming back into Taurus on the 6th of November. And I just have to look at my map and make sure I know when the dates are. It's stationed retrograde early in September. And then it will be moving back into Gemini as of next April. So between now and then, Taurus, there are some last little bits and pieces of this kind of internal makeover, self-awakening, self-liberating, self-claiming project that I feel that you've been in that really need your attention. One thing that for me feels absolutely essential when we're working with Taurus energy is that there is deep listening with the body and with the somatic intelligences. And over these next several months, Taurus, I want to really invite you to pay attention to what your body knows. I think that there are certain circumstances in your life that you may be experiencing some gap between what you imagine to be possible and what actually is happening. There may be places in your life where you are really kind of in some kind of mental space about it, but your body has some different information. I certainly don't want you to think that your body has to be a polarizing binary to other forms of information or ambition that you have right now. I really want to emphasize that your body's intelligences can help you finesse, fine-tune, and be honest about what it is that you want, need, have capacity for, and really need to claim and get grounded with in your own life and existence. So, around the full moon, November 5th, we have a lot of illumination coming into your sign. This is your body, your sense of self. We've got Uranus coming back into Taurus. There's a feeling of you really need to be grounded and landed in your first person experience right now, because what is happening in your relationships needs you to be response able for and towards your part. Now, Jupiter is stationing retrograde just a couple of days later, right around the time that Mercury is stationing retrograde. So between November 9th and 11th, we've got a lot of retrograde station energy. Mercury and Mars are coming together for a second conjunction. The first one happened just before Scorpio season began. And the feeling that I'm getting for this in your chart right now, Taurus, is that you have some ideas about the futures of relationships. And here, again, I want to be clear that I could be speaking generally to a lot of you, and this is about your hopes, goals, and wishes for yourself just as a person relating in multiple directions. But there may also be very specific context, conditions, contracts, or agreements or situations that you're in where you're feeling this. So from about the second week of November through, I'm going to say, the last week of November, so we're getting into Sagittarius season here, there is a lot that's changing and shifting, and you have certain ideas that need to get checked by reality. And I think that this Mercury retrograde and Jupiter retrograde is bringing up these themes really strongly in your chart. Sometimes we get into our fantasies about how something is going to go, and then we're brought down to earth. And I feel that some of you are having this kind of experience right now where you really need to claim what you know in your first person embodied experience and get out of your head, get out of your fantasy, get out of any kinds of promises that you might be trying to make or that others might be giving to you that feel somehow ungrounded. There is a real need for you to feel grounded in the reality of what actually is right now, which isn't to say that what is now is permanent. It's absolutely not. Things are changing all the time. But the kinds of negotiations that you're in at present need total honesty in order to move forward and to be processed in the ways that are going to be most beneficial for all. And so that means that you have to be totally honest. And in my experience, the most honest capacities that we have are the ones that are deeply embodied. And when we really can tune in with our felt sense and with our bodily realities, that's when we can be the most honest. And in my experience, tuning in with bodily sensation and awareness allows for a kind of nuance that often is not binary. And so inside of complex negotiations where it's not a simple yes or no or either or, there might be several different needs surfacing. There might be alternative directions that you never even conceived of before. There might be a subtlety or a nuance to something that changes the entire fabric of what's happening. And this is the feeling that I have for you coming up in this period of time. Now, this period of time also encompasses the Scorpio new moon, which is on November 19th. And this, again, is in your opposite sign. Mercury has come back to Scorpio at this point, just a couple of days before, and the new moon is just a day before Mercury and the Sun meet for what's called their inferior conjunction, or cazimi. And this is a quality of time in which we have some kind of new impression being made in our minds and in our consciousness, particularly in regards to the place where it's happening. And so for you, this is in your solar 7th house. This is the place of partnerships. This is the place of contracts, agreements, and in general, how you are relating outward in the world as an individual with others. And where you're really trying to negotiate a give and take and reciprocity and any forms of partnership or collaboration. So the Scorpio new moon is a very powerful new moon in 2025. It is in contact with all of the outer planets. It's combusts with Mercury, and the outer planets are also in a dance around this time. There's a lot of things that are happening in the constellations of the chart during this time that, for me, really give the feeling of this being a fairly pivotal moment. What I want to offer to you, Taurus, is that the wisdom of Scorpio as an energy is the wisdom of deep water. Now, deep water penetrates, it moves down and in. It is sentient, somatic consciousness in the body and in the felt sense of things. Scorpio is really not a mental sign. It is a very instinctual bodily sign. In our bodies, Scorpio rules the parts of the body that have to do with elimination and regeneration, your bowels and your reproductive organs. It rules the basin of the pelvis. And this is a place in our bodies where many of us feel a lot of intensity and can often also feel fairly shut down. It's the place in our bodies, or one of the places in our bodies, that responds first when we are fearful, and also gives us information when we're aroused. And fear and arousal sometimes can feel somewhat similar. And so this new moon, and I'm going to say for the envelope of time around the new moon that includes the station retrogrades, so from November 9th or so until Saturn stations direct on November 26th, once we're already in Sagittarius season, I'm going to say that this whole period of time will benefit from you really paying deep attention to your body, particularly within circumstances where you are being relationally challenged or invited or asked to grow or asked to change. So any context in your relationships which may be catching your attention, including those that are kind of just business as usual, if you're having a deep feeling about it, that feeling does need to be explored. Scorpio is asking us to go deep into the deep feelings. Now, inside of that depth, there might be things that need to be unearthed. And we are in a Mercury retrograde, and one of the most classic predictions for Mercury retrograde is, there need to be some kind of revealing conversations. Again, there's the RE prefix. Now with Scorpio especially, we have revelation. We have things being pulled up from the depths. We have some kind of deep examination and psychological penetration into the deeper issues at hand. And this is really wanting to happen for you right now, particularly in the realms of your closest one-on-one relationships, partnerships, and collaborations. Now, again, fear and arousal can feel similar inside of our bodies. I think that some of you might be experiencing relational contexts that stimulate you in some kind of way. And I would encourage you to get really curious about the sensations that emerge first as fear or resistance or mistrust. They may be very accurate, adequate responses. And there may be something else that's going on underneath them. So when we're working with scorpionic energy, when we're working with retrograde energy in general, and especially because we're working with the influence of a cazimi, right now I'm going to say I think that there are a lot of patterns that want to get released, and sometimes patterns that are ready to be released come up really strongly so that we can see them, so that we can feel them, and so that we can make a new clear choice now that we have some consciousness around them. So any strong reactions or responses that you might be having, any intense conversations or communications or engagements relationally that are coming up for you at this time are asking you to also examine more deeply what is happening for you in the realms that are much harder to be perceived. And this is a period of time that needs you to be working with your journal. It needs you to be talking with your closest friends and allies. It needs you to be engaging somehow with some kinds of therapeutic processes. This doesn't have to be you going to a therapist. It could include you working with your inner child. It could be you working with an oracle deck of some kind. It could be you really just tuning in with your intuition and asking what's happening that is under the surface right now that I need to pay attention to. But this is a period of time when I do feel that a lot is being unearthed, and there is a reason for it. And the reason I think you'll have more of a clear sense of by February into April of next year. But for the time being, the reason is transformation. The reason is the work of Scorpio, which is alchemy, transformation, the phoenix rising from the ashes. So certain things might need to burn down, Taurus. That's a metaphor, hopefully, so that other things can emerge renewed and invigorated from what has been released. Now, the last couple of days of Scorpio season, I mentioned there's some big outer planet influences. Uranus and Neptune are sextile to one another from the very last degrees of their respective signs. Again, Uranus is now back in Taurus, and Neptune is transiting the very last degree of the whole zodiac. I keep calling it the end of the world degree. This feels quite intense as I tune in with your chart. And what I want to say is that we are living through a period of time in which the future is unknown and at risk. We are living in times of massive change, in times of revolution and hopefully of evolution. And we're also living through a time when some of the worst possible manifestations of human consciousness are absolutely blanketing the globe with true terrorism and devastation. I don't know what's going to be happening at the end of November, but I do feel that whatever is happening, Taurus, is asking you to tune in with how you can now embody the future that you want to be a part of. Conditions may not be perfect at the moment. It may feel dire and completely unknown how you could ever get to that eventual imagination that you have of what the world could be like. But if you can find some kind of ways to embody that vision and fantasy and longing that you have for the world now, then you start to bring it into being, and you are part of that co-creation of possible future that the world so desperately needs right now. And one of the main ways that I feel this happening for you is in the ways that you are in relationship. And here I'm going to say relationship with all beings. And here I'm also going to really highlight and uplift a theme of friendship and friendliness as a baseline for your relationships, including, and maybe first and foremost, with yourself. In my opinion, take this or leave it, friendship is really lacking in the world that we are living in today. There's a lot of hollow promises of solidarity and a lot of examples of false friendship, broken treaties, lack of intimacy, etc. And many, many, many people are waking up to the traumas of isolation and separation inside of our lineages and doing a lot of work around reclaiming potentials for intimacy, love, and true trust. And in the energy, in the energetic frequency of friendliness and friendship. I feel a true open-heartedness and an investment in the best outcomes and true happiness of one another and of ourselves. Friendship to me feels to be the most freeing quality of love, and especially when it is directed internally, that then frees you, or frees any being, to love others in enormous ways that can ripple out across time and space, that are not possessive, that are not, caught up in ego and attachment. And I feel that this is really healing energy for you as we transition out of Scorpio season and into Sagittarius season. The more that you can focus on being a friend to yourself, being a friend to your mind, being a friend to your body, the more that you will find that you have capacity to show up in friendship with others, and also to recognize and receive the friendship that is being extended to you, and being able to be in a reciprocal flow of friendship across the terrain of your relationships. So you can be friends with your parents, you can be friends with your partners, you can be friends with your colleagues. Not all friendships need the same kinds of intimacy, but the genuine feeling of friendliness can be there in any context. And the more that you practice cultivating this kind of feeling, Taurus, the more I think that you're going to feel this quality in the world around you. And I think that that will give you hope, and it will give you the kinds of solace and nourishment that you really need at this time to get through and to see and take up your options and, best pathways forward. So I'm going to leave it there, Taurus, and I'm going to say a couple other things, so don't go away. Over the course of Scorpio season, if you want to work with me on Mondays, you can tune in with me in Somatic Space, and we'll be working a lot with the embodied terrain and area of Scorpio, as well as the axis between Scorpio and Taurus in our bodies. And this is the axis between the jaw and the pelvis. It is a very deep, fundamental, primordial feeling tone of an axis, and working in these parts of our bodies can be extremely profound and liberating. I feel that this work would be very beneficial for you in Scorpio season, so I hope that you'll check it out. We also have a series happening at Embodied Astrology starting on November 16th, a little bit before Scorpio season ends, called Dancing the Political, facilitated by Saed Mansour. And this series could be really informative for you, Taurus, because part of what Saed is inviting us to do is to really embody different sides of stories. Now, the emphasis is on political and social relationships, but it is absolutely welcome for you to be working with deeper layers of personal relationships as well. And because I think that a lot of you are really trying to find a balance in your relationships right now that takes care of you while also being responsible with the people who you're relating with, I think this kind of work could be really informative for you. There is so much intensity coming up in Scorpio season, and giving yourself an opportunity to kind of exercise that intensity, move it out, and express it creatively will really deeply help inform the process that you're in. The last thing I'm going to say is that I'm going to roll into your Sagittarius season reading right now. And so if you are listening in the beginning of Scorpio season, I really encourage you to come back next month, because everything that's happening this season with so many retrogrades extends through Sagittarius season in its integration phase. And Sagittarius as an energy really wants us to journey and also to expand our awareness. And Scorpio season as an energy really needs us to go deep and get present in our awareness. So I'm going to be working with your readings for these two seasons back to back. And definitely make sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you get notified when your Sagittarius readings come up. And leave me a comment if you want. I love reading them. It really helps out the channel. And it also helps me to feel into how are these readings resonating for you. I'm always so curious what's happening in the collective. So to my Taurus collective out there, if you are still here, I am wishing you all the best in Scorpio season and beyond. It feels like a lot of you are doing really important work right now in your relationships. It feels like there is a lot of new growth potential coming up for you, especially when it comes to claiming your personal power, your personal truth, and the deeper experiences of liberation that can only be anchored in love. And I feel that that is all possible for you and probable for you, especially when you tune in with your body and with your felt sense. All right, Taurus, sending you lots of love. Bye for now. Psst, one more thing. It's me again. Thank you so much for listening. If you're still here and you enjoyed your reading so much that you want to play around with embodied astrology with me, join me sometime for my weekly virtual class, Somatic Space. You can catch me live on Zoom every Monday, where we tune in with the lunar cycle, solar season, and transits for the week ahead, and work with gentle mind, heart, body practices that prepare us to meet what's coming with skill and with style. There's also more going on at Embodied Astrology, including a lovely community, bi-weekly chart reading study groups, and seasonal workshops such as this season's 4-session series with Saed Mansour, Dancing the Political. This series is going to be super powerful with what's coming up in Scorpio season and this 2-month long-lasting Grand Trine in Water. Y'all, this is definitely a time when we need to be as engaged as possible in ways that are also transformative and self-reflective. And that is what Saed's work is all about. And that is what we are all about here at Embodied Astrology. So if you want to learn more about his series, Somatic Space, and what's happening on our calendar here at EA, you can find all the links, you know where, and also visit us at embodiedastrology.com. Okay, that's really all. Bye for now.